Hello everyone. Okay, this is your first extra credit assignment. Your assignment in itself is pretty simple, but it's going to require a little explanation so that you'll know what I mean. Your assignment is simply to work on breaking a conditioned relationship habit that you have. Okay? So you're going to practice that. You're going to practice breaking a habit. So here's the explanation. So what do I mean by conditioned habit? A conditioned habit is basically any action that you do on a regular basis that is automated, in the sense that it comes out of your past, excuse me, it comes out of the conditioning you received as a child, it comes as a result of a conversation that is happening that you're not aware of in conditioned mind, like that. It's an action you're doing basically without being present to it, without really being aware that you're doing it. You're just kind of doing it on autopilot. So for example, let's say maybe I have a habit of deferring to other people whenever they express an opinion. It's just a habit. Like somebody expresses an opinion, maybe I've got something going about being liked or being afraid of conflict or something, and then somebody expresses an opinion and I just defer to them. I just tell them they're right. That would be a conditioned habit. Okay. So in a relationship, typically we have all kinds of conditioned habits. We have ways that we habitually are in the relationship, things we habitually do. In relationship, there's two people involved, and so, and of course, of any kind of relationship, and so, the habits will tend to coincide. They will fit together. So the habit I want to use as an example here is the one that Jana brought up in the class. Jana, I hope you won't mind that I do this, just because it was such a good example. So Jana was saying she has a habit. She didn't call it a conditioned habit, but I think she would agree it is a conditioned habit. She has a conditioned habit to do all of the cooking for her and her partner. And her partner doesn't do any cooking. And she is tired of doing it. She's tired of being in that role. It's a habit. Okay, and so, and she said that habit is really, really difficult to break. Well, why is it difficult to break? Well, it's difficult to break because conditioned mind is invested in it. In this example, Jana expressed, to some degree, I'm sure there'd be a lot more detail, but she expressed that it's an unhappy thing for her to do this. It's a default setting in her. She tends to do this. It's not what she really wants to be doing, but she tends to kind of take that sort of a role with people in order to, feel safe or secure or whatever it is that she's got going about that. And it's really, really difficult to break those kinds of habits because our identity is involved. Who we think that we are is at stake. I'm someone who does all the cooking. I'm someone who defers to other people's needs, perhaps, to say it a little bit more broadly. Those kind of habits are really, really deeply ingrained and very difficult to break. Okay, so how do we break a habit? Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to be aware. And Jana, is very aware of this as a habit. So we have to be aware not just that we're doing it, which is difficult in itself, because you know how it is with these unconscious habits. We're doing them before we even realize we're doing them. It's just so automated and such a default behavior in us. A lot of times, we're not there for it. We wake up later and realize, oh, shoot, I just did it again, like that. So that in itself is really difficult. So we have to be aware that it's happening, aware we're about to do the habit, and we also have to be aware that it's a conditioned habit, that it's coming out of conditioned mind. There are habits, I think, that we participate in that are not necessarily conditioned habits. For example, I have a habit of brushing my teeth every night before I go to bed, and every morning when I wake up too. It's a habit in the sense that I have established a routine. It helps me actually to have like a routine, we might call it a habit, to do that. That way I remember, make sure it gets done because it's important to me. I want to take care of my teeth. So that's not so much a conditioned habit. A conditioned habit is one, again, that is coming out of the past. So we have to be aware that's what it is. This is not something that serves me. This is not something I'm really choosing. This is something that is being chosen for me, in a sense, by the programming that I have. So to say it another way, I'm lost in my conditioned programming. I'm just doing what it says to do. I'm not making a free choice about that. I have to be aware that that's what it is. And in the example with Jana, that's clearly what it is. She doesn't want to be doing this. It's not right. It doesn't serve her. I mean, she didn't say much about it, but I can easily imagine it doesn't serve her partner either. Her partner gets to just never cook for themselves. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem fair or equal or, whatever. So it doesn't serve anyone. It's an unconscious conditioned habit, and typically unconscious conditioned habits do not serve anyone. They serve suffering. They serve the habit of engaging with conditioned mind, being a separate self that is outside of life, suffering. Okay, so job one is we got to be aware of it, but it's not enough just to be aware of it. And this is what I said to Jana in the class. It's good to be aware of it. That's the first step. But then, in order to break the habit, you have to do what the conditioned habit says you can't do, or you have to not do what it says that you have to do. Okay? It's the only way we can actually assert our power over that conditioned process. We have to do it on the realm of action. We can't do it in the realm of thought. So in this case, I suggested to Jana, and she'll, of course, she's going to look to see, what makes sense to her. This was just a suggestion. But I suggested her she take on this habit of cooking for her partner. And the way I suggested to do that was to go to her partner and say some equivalent of, hey, I've realized, we have this arrangement, and I no longer want to do the arrangement. Okay? Would you be willing to renegotiate? Can we look at this and see how else we might do food in our household? And then if her partner says, no, you're right, I don't feel comfortable with this either, good. What other arrangement can we do? Then she's golden, right? She has, that she's going to have a new arrangement. She still is going to have to work on breaking the habit because, even with the arrangement, the default is going to be, I'll take care of it, right? Because that's what she's conditioned to do. It's very, very difficult to break these habits. If the partner says, either resist, which I said I think is pretty likely because, a partner's got a really good deal going, doesn't have to do any of the cooking. Or if, for some other reason the partner refuses, then it gets more complex. She's going to have to draw some boundaries. Say, I'll if I'm making something, this is an example, just a suggestion. If I'm making food for myself, I'll make some extra for you. And then you can have that. If I'm not making food for myself, I won't. You'll have to make your own food. And if I do that, then I'll need for you to make some food for me too, just so it's equal. That kind of thing, setting a boundary. And we'll talk more in the class later about setting boundaries and what that's all about and how to do it skillfully. So anyway, that's just kind of an example. Now, would that break the habit? Absolutely. I mean, that is so, I got the sense from what Jana was saying, so outside the box for her. That is not the, she was saying, she's just really programmed, to kind of be small and unobtrusive and not express herself and not express her needs and stuff like that. So way out of the box for her. So it would absolutely break that conditioned habit. Is that going to be, would that be, if she chooses to take it on, uncomfortable for her? You bet. You better believe it. That's going to be super uncomfortable because, again, that's outside of her conditioned set of behaviors that she's allowed. Super duper uncomfortable. But like I said, that's kind of the point. This is what I said to Jana in the post. It's kind of the point is to say no to the conditioned habit, do something different in order to, and I didn't say this exactly in the post, but this was kind of implied, in order to kind of flesh conditioned mind out into the open where you can see it. Because I can guarantee you that conditioned mind is going to get off the sofa if she were to do that and hit her with something to try to get her back in line. It's going to tell her, who do you think you are? Or, stuff like that. It's going to beat her up for it. It's going to tell her she's selfish maybe. I don't know. It'll do something like that in order to try to get her back in line. And that's a very difficult, uncomfortable thing to happen to a person. And if you can hold fast in the middle of that and really pay attention, it's incredibly good and useful. Because you're basically saying to conditioned mind, I'm in charge now. I'm in charge of my life. I'm making my decisions, not you. Super duper powerful and really, really uncomfortable. Okay? If you are working on breaking a habit and conditioned mind gets after you, starts to beat you up over things, don't listen. That's just something that's there to kind of try to get you back in A little bit broader. It's also useful to be able to see, to get out the tools. In this class, we're not going to, the way I see it right now, we're not going to specifically go through all the kind of the basic practice tools. I'm going to bring the tools more in the conversation that is happening, in the classroom format, in Google Classroom. So we're not going to have exercises directed at this, but just to kind of, give you the overview. So, one of the tools is to be aware of the conversation happening in your head. That's how conditioned mind talks us into doing everything that is unhelpful, is it talks us into it. So there's a conversation happening up here in our heads. It's talking to us, telling us what to think, how to feel, what to do. If you're aware of that, then you have the ability to choose instead of just following the normal programming. Another one is, what am I believing that's not true? So Jana, in this case, I don't know what it is specifically, but she's believing something about her, or maybe her value. Maybe she's believing she's not good enough in some way, and that's why she has to compensate for it by cooking for her partner, something like that. So if we're in conditioning, we're always believing something that's not true. So what is it in whatever situation you're in? What are you believing that's not true? Another one is identity. Who am I right now? Who's here? What conditioned part of me is here? And I'll flesh that out just as it comes up naturally in the class, what I mean by that. But just the short version is, we have these different identities that we go in and out of inside conditioned mind. They're not who we really are. But when we are inside an identity, then we completely believe the reality that identity lives inside of. So for example, I project that Jana has an identity that says she has to be small for whatever reason. When she's in that identity, it seems really true. I have to be small. This is how I'm safe in this world. If she steps out of that identity, it won't seem that way anymore. She'll feel a willingness and ability to be larger than that, to make free choices for herself and stuff like that. Okay? So pay attention. See what you can see. It's all happening inside your mind. And I hope that's, even already, is probably becoming obvious in the class. What's important is not what's happening outside. We are practicing with the stuff that's happening on the outside, but what's important is what's happening on the inside. It's the processes that are going on in our minds that are causing us to live in these fictional realities where we suffer and causing us to do things that we really don't want to do, that our hearts don't want to do. Okay? Okay, so your assignment is to pick some habit. Start with something small. Like that one with Jana, I don't know, that might not be small enough. That's actually might be pretty big. So Jana, that's too big. Pick something smaller and work your way up to that one. So pick something small, just some conditioned habit you notice, and practice breaking the habit. With the idea, it's relatively unimportant whether you actually break the habit, but I want you to. I want you to make the effort to break the habit. But that's secondary to learning how to break a habit. And as I've been saying, in order to break a habit, you have to be aware of conditioned mind on these different levels. That's what this is all really about. In order to have a clear, mature, conscious relationship with oneself and others, you have to be aware of conditioned mind, and you have to be able to let go of conditioned mind as it arises. So that's what we're practicing here. Okay? All right, very good. So pick a habit, work on that for a little while, and then whenever you have a little bit of data or you have some experiences, I would love it if you share that in the class, and we can have a little conversation about it in the class. Thanks again, everyone. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your attention. Be well. I'll see you in the class.